Before either could speak again, the office door swung open. Mr. Choi, the night security guard, stood in the doorway with his flashlight raised. "Everything okay, Dr. Han? I thought I heard voices." He stopped mid-sentence as he spotted Jun, whose camouflage was now glitching visibly. In the split second of distraction, Dr. Han slammed her hand on the alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the building as sirens wailed. What happened next defied all of Jun's combat training. The security guard didn't run or freeze in terror upon seeing an alien. Instead, Mr. Choi hurled his heavy flashlight directly at Jun's head with surprising accuracy, then tackled him with the fearlessness of someone who had once played rugby professionally. Dr. Han grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and sprayed it at the alien, correctly guessing that the cold chemical would interfere with his camouflage technology. The white foam revealed Jun's true form, a 7-foot reptilian humanoid with armored skin. Ms. Song, the night shift technician who had been working down the hall, rushed in upon hearing the commotion. Without hesitation, she grabbed the nearest office chair and rammed it into the back of Jun's knees, causing him to stumble. The alien was stronger than any human, but he had never encountered a species that reacted this way, with immediate, coordinated resistance, despite having no formal combat training or apparent plan. When Mr. Kang from the cafeteria arrived with a hot pot of coffee and threw it directly in Jun's face, the Draconian spy finally realized he had severely miscalculated. The time security forces arrived, the 3 ordinary humans had somehow managed to restrain one of the galaxy's most elite covert operatives using office supplies, quick thinking, and sheer determination. "Impossible," Jun reported hours later. During his interrogation, now securely contained in a specialized cell, "They shouldn't have been able to stop me. They're not warriors. They're service personnel." Investigator Moon studied the captured Draconian with fascination. "Yet they did stop you. 3 unarmed humans against a trained Imperial operative." Across the room, General Park and Dr. Han watched through one-way glass. "That's the 2nd time humans have surprised aliens this month," General Park said with a hint of pride. "First their fleet, now their spy." Dr. Han nodded thoughtfully. "I think that might be exactly what puzzles them so much." The next morning, Moon requested access to Earth's historical and sociological databases, an unusual pivot from the technical investigation he had been conducting. His request was granted, and for 3 days, he and his assistant Day pored over humanity's history of conflict, innovation, and crisis response. "It doesn't make sense," Moon told Dr. Han as they shared lunch in the facility's cafeteria, a courtesy the alien investigator had initially refused, but now seemed to enjoy. "According to all predictive models, your species should have had a standardized response pattern to the Draconian arrival." "What do you mean?" Dr. Han asked, watching with amusement as Moon cautiously tried kimchi for the first time. "Every species we've encountered follows predictable patterns when facing superior force," Moon explained, between careful bites. "Mass panic, fractured responses, eventual surrender. The models are extremely accurate. They've been refined across 42 conquered species." He set down his chopsticks with surprising dexterity for someone with 4 arms. "But humans, you immediately formed a unified defense strategy. Your military commanders prepared a coordinated global response within hours, and when faced with certain defeat, you remained calm." Dr. Han shrugged. "We've been imagining alien invasions in our fiction for centuries. Maybe we were mentally prepared." Mun's facial ridges twitched in what she had come to recognize as skepticism. Fiction shouldn't create practical preparedness, yet it seemingly has. And then there's what happened with our spy, ordinary humans without combat training, instinctively working together to overcome a superior opponent. He leaned forward. "The Draconian Empire has conquered species with greater physical strength, more advanced technology, and higher average intelligence than humans. Yet none of them defeated a Draconian agent using a fire extinguisher and hot coffee." Later that afternoon, Moon's investigation took another unexpected turn. While reviewing satellite data from the day of the fleet's disappearance, his team discovered something odd: localized atmospheric disturbances directly above several research facilities around the world, including the one in Kyoto they had visited first. "These energy signatures are identical to those we found inside," The facilities, Day reported, but enormously amplified. When confronted with this evidence, Earth's military leaders finally admitted what Dr. Han had been hiding: the existence of Project Rainfall, an experimental global network of atmospheric satellites originally designed for weather modification. "You have weather control technology?" Moon asked, clearly surprised. "Not exactly," Dr. Han explained. "It was intended to help prevent droughts and reduce hurricane intensity. But the system was still in development when the Draconian fleet arrived." General Park cleared his throat. "We may have modified some of the satellites based on technology we recovered from crashed scout ships over the years." This revelation stunned Moon. "You've had previous contact with alien technology?" "Nothing official," General Park clarified. "Small scout ships that crashed in remote areas. Most humans still don't know about them. We reverse-engineered what we could, even though we didn't fully understand the principles." Dr. Han pulled up classified schematics on her tablet. "We incorporated some of the propulsion elements into Project Rainfall. The energy signatures matched some theoretical models in quantum physics, but we were still testing the system when the fleet arrived." Moon studied the technical specifications with growing amazement. "You combined alien technology with your own theories, creating a hybrid system that operates on principles the galactic community considers impossible or dangerously unstable." "Is that bad?" Dr. Han asked. "It's unprecedented," Moon replied. "Most species strictly follow established scientific methods passed down from older civilizations. You took technology you didn't understand and improvised." That evening, as Moon filed his daily report to the Galactic Council, he included a new assessment of humanity, one that would send shockwaves through galactic civilization. "The human variable cannot be quantified within our existing models. Their response patterns defy prediction. Their technological development follows no established path. When faced with superior force, they do not behave as expected. They adapt. They improvise. They overcome. This may explain what happened to the Draconian fleet. Humans are perhaps the first species we've encountered whose greatest strength is not their technology or biology, but their unpredictability." As Moon finished his report across the facility, Dr. Han was finally gaining access to the captured Draconian spy's personal technology, and what she discovered would change everything they understood about what had happened to the invading fleet. "The Draconian Armada vanished on Earth, and the galaxy can't explain it, Doctor." Han's fingers moved carefully over the alien device recovered from June. The technology was far beyond anything humans had developed, yet something about its quantum signature seemed oddly familiar. She connected it to her specialized equipment, designed specifically for analyzing the recovered scout ship components. "That's impossible," she whispered as the readings appeared on her screen. She immediately called Investigator Moon, who arrived at her lab within minutes, all four of his arms carrying different scanning equipment. "Look at this," Dr. Han said, pointing to the overlapping waveform patterns on her monitor. "The quantum signature from June's communication device matches the energy pattern we detected in our atmosphere after the fleet disappeared." Moon studied the readings, his large eyes blinking rapidly. "These shouldn't be compatible patterns. Our science indicates they would cancel each other out. Unless," Dr. Han pulled up the Project Rainfall schematics, "unless they didn't cancel out, but instead amplified each other in a way we never anticipated." As they compared the data sets, a startling theory began to emerge, one so revolutionary that Dr. Han could hardly believe it herself. "We need access to the classified files," she told General Park later that morning. "Everything on Project Rainfall, not just the official documentation, but the raw test data, the failed experiments, everything." The general hesitated. "Some of that information is restricted even from me." "If I'm right about what happened to the Draconian fleet," Dr. Han said, "we need to know exactly how it happened, before it happens again." Within hours, a secure room had been prepared deep beneath the facility. Dr. Han, Moon, and a small team of specialists gathered around a table loaded with classified files, both digital and paper, some dating back decades. "Project Rainfall began as weather modification," explained Dr. Yuna Kang, one of the original scientists on the project. But when we incorporated elements from the recovered alien technology, something unexpected happened during our high atmosphere tests. She pulled up video footage showing a small test drone being launched into the upper atmosphere. As it reached a certain altitude, the drone seemed to flicker, becoming transparent before solidifying again. The first ship vanished from radar, then another, and another. "Sir, we're losing tracking on all vessels," Lieutenant Lee reported, confusion evident in her voice. "Equipment malfunction?" General Park demanded. "No, sir. All systems operational. The ships are just gone." Outside, civilians who had been watching the meteor shower gasped as the lights in the sky winked out one by one, not as if they had crashed or exploded, but as if someone had simply erased them from existence. Within 5 minutes, all 300 Draconian warships had disappeared completely from Earth's atmosphere. No explosions, no debris, no radiation signatures, no distress signals. The most powerful invasion force in galactic history had simply ceased to exist. The room fell silent, monitors showing clear skies where moments before had been humanity's doom. "What just happened?" whispered General Park, staring at the empty displays. No one had an answer. In the days that followed, Earth scientists searched desperately for explanations. Military leaders maintained high alert, expecting the aliens to reappear at any moment. But as weeks passed with no sign of the Armada, a different kind of tension spread through the highest levels of government. Something had saved humanity, but no one knew what or how or why. Across the galaxy, news of the failed invasion spread rapidly. The Draconian Empire, which had conquered 42 species and subjugated 17 star systems, had suffered its first defeat, and at the hands of a species that hadn't even achieved interstellar travel. The galactic community's response was immediate. Earth was no longer considered an insignificant backwater planet. Whatever had happened there, whatever power humans possessed, had changed the course of galactic politics in a single day, and the universe held its breath, waiting to learn the truth about the primitive planet that had somehow made the most feared. Military force in known space simply vanish. The Draconian Armada vanished on Earth, and the galaxy can't explain it. 3 weeks after the mysterious disappearance of the Draconian fleet, a single sleek ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Unlike the aggressive formation that had preceded it, this vessel approached slowly, broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies. The ship landed in a cordoned-off area outside Geneva, under the watchful eyes of a multinational military force. News helicopters circled overhead as the ship's doors opened with a soft hiss of escaping air. Dr. Hyun Han clutched her tablet tightly as she stood beside UN Secretary-General Torres. As Earth's leading quantum physicist, she had been selected to join the Welcome Committee, though welcome felt like the wrong word. Nobody knew if these new visitors were friends, enemies, or something else entirely. The being that emerged from the ship walked on 2 legs but was clearly not human. Standing nearly 7 feet tall with skin the color of burnished copper and forearms, the alien regarded the assembled humans with large, dark eyes. "I am Investigator Moon of the Galactic Council," the alien announced in perfect English, its voice produced by a small device at its throat. "I have been dispatched to determine what happened to the Draconian Armada." Within hours, representatives from Earth's major powers were seated across from Moon and his 3-member team in a hastily prepared conference room. "Let's be direct," Moon said, placing a device in the center of the table that projected a 3-dimensional image of Earth with the Draconian ships surrounding it. 300 warships entered your atmosphere and vanished. This has never happened before. The Draconians have conquered 42 species across 17 systems. They do not fail. Secretary-General Torres cleared his throat. "We're as puzzled as you are. We were preparing for the worst when they simply disappeared." Moon's facial ridges tightened in what might have been skepticism. "Your species has no planetary defense shield, no weapons capable of destroying such a fleet, and no recorded history of interstellar contact. Yet the most powerful military force in the galaxy vanished in your atmosphere. You understand why this is difficult to accept?" Dr. Han spoke up. "Perhaps if we understood why they came in the first place." "Resources," Moon answered flatly. Your planet is rich in rare elements, and your species has not developed the technology to properly utilize them. The Draconians take what others cannot defend. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. We would like to investigate, Mun continued. The Council needs to understand what happened here. What followed was a tense negotiation. Earth's representatives, still reeling from the near invasion and now confronted with the reality of galactic politics, managed to establish some boundaries. The investigation team would be limited in size, would be accompanied by human observers at all times, and would share all findings. Dr. Han was assigned as the primary scientific liaison to Mun's team. The next morning, she met the investigator at the first site on their list, the atmospheric research facility outside Kyoto, where unusual energy readings had been detected during the fleet's disappearance. Your species is remarkably calm about all this, Mun observed as they walked through the facility. Most make contact with the galactic community only after being conquered. You've skipped that step entirely. We adapt quickly, Dr. Han replied, leading him to the main research lab. It's what humans do best. Mun's assistant, a blue-skinned being named Day, operated complex scanning equipment as they moved through the building. These energy signatures are unusual, Day reported, showing readings to Mun. They don't match any known weapons discharge pattern. Because they weren't weapons, Dr. Han said, perhaps too quickly, earning a sharp look from Mun. For the next week, the investigation team traveled to similar facilities around the globe. At each location, they found the same strange energy patterns lingering in the atmosphere, like echoes of whatever had happened. Meanwhile, unknown to both Earth authorities and the Galactic Council team, another alien had arrived on the planet. The Draconian spy, June, had been deployed immediately after contact was lost with the fleet. Using advanced camouflage technology, he had been living among humans for 2 weeks, gathering information and seeking answers. June watched from across the street as Dr. Han and Mun exited a research facility in Buenos Aires. His orders were clear: discover what weapon Earth had used against the fleet and, if possible, eliminate those responsible. The Draconian Empire did not accept defeat. Back at the United Nations temporary headquarters for extraterrestrial relations, Mun reviewed the data they had gathered so far. Your planet shows no signs of advanced technology capable of what happened, he told the assembled human representatives. Yet something here removed 300 warships from existence. Dr. Han shifted uncomfortably in her seat. There were aspects of Earth's defensive capabilities that remained classified, not because they were so advanced, but because they were so experimental. The quantum displacement project had been theoretical, untested. It wasn't supposed to be operational yet. Perhaps the Draconians made a mistake, suggested General Park, a navigation error or system failure. The Draconians don't make such mistakes, Mun replied. That night, Dr. Han worked late in her temporary office at the UN building, reviewing data from the atmospheric sensors. She was so absorbed in her work that she didn't notice the shadow that detached itself from the corner of the room. Dr. Han, a voice said softly. She jumped, spinning around to face a human-looking man, but something about him was slightly off, his movements too precise. Who are you? How did you get in here? I represent those who lost family in the fleet that came to your world, the man said, his form shimmering slightly before stabilizing. I need to know what your people did to them. Dr. Han reached slowly for the alarm button under her desk, but froze when the intruder produced a device she didn't recognize. The Draconians want answers, June said, his disguise failing to hide the alien anger in his eyes. And they will have them, one way or another. The Draconian Armada vanished on Earth, and the galaxy can't explain it. The stars twinkled peacefully in the night sky above Seoul as Jinwoo Kim finished his midnight shift at the observatory. It was a quiet Thursday, until the alarm systems throughout the facility suddenly screamed to life. What on earth? Jinwoo muttered, rushing back to the main telescope controls. The readings made no sense at first. Hundreds of objects entering the solar system at speeds that defied conventional physics. He triple-checked the equipment, hoping for a malfunction, but the truth became undeniable. They were ships. Massive. Ships moving with purpose. Within hours, military bases worldwide went into high alert. In Washington, General Soon-Ho Park paced the Pentagon's Emergency Command Center, watching as the objects approached Earth with unmistakable precision. "We're tracking over 300 vessels," reported Lieutenant Minji Lee, her voice steady, despite the tension filling the room. "Formation suggests military organization. They're not trying to hide their approach." General Park nodded grimly. "Any response to our communications?" "None, sir. We've tried all frequencies, all known protocols. Across the globe, civilians remained largely unaware of the approaching threat. News channels reported unusual satellite disruptions and temporary communication outages as the unknown fleet began jamming Earth's signals, standard procedure for the Draconian Empire before planetary conquest, though humans had no way of knowing this yet. In the United Nations emergency session, hastily gathered world leaders watched in stunned silence as satellite images showed the alien armada entering Earth's outer atmosphere. Sleek, predatory ships with hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Colonel Junho Kim, head of South Korea's Special Defense Unit, spoke what everyone was thinking: "We don't have the weapons to fight this." The world held its breath. Military families were quietly evacuated from bases. Strategic assets were moved underground. For the first time in human history, all nuclear powers stood ready to coordinate a last-resort defense of their planet against an obviously superior force. Aboard the Draconian command ship, High Commander Tay surveyed the blue planet with cold confidence. Earth would be the 18th conquered world under his command, another jewel in the Empire's vast collection. His second-in-command, Officer Bay, presented the final invasion plan on a hovering display. "Primitive weapons systems," Officer Bay reported. "No unified planetary defense, no energy shields, scattered military response capabilities. Standard conquest protocol should require minimal casualties among our forces." Commander Tay nodded. The Draconians preferred efficiency over spectacle. Their empire had not expanded across half the galaxy by wasting resources. "Begin atmospheric descent," he ordered. "Target their primary military installations first, then communication hubs." The massive fleet began its coordinated entry into Earth's atmosphere, the ship's outer hulls glowing red-hot from the friction. Around the world, millions looked up to see what appeared to be hundreds of falling stars streaming across the sky. Beautiful, if you didn't know what they represented. In the Pentagon Command Center, General Park and his team watched the descent. On their monitors, fingers hovered over last resort buttons. Prayers were whispered. A strange calm settled over the room, the acceptance that comes when facing inevitable defeat. And then something impossible happened. Dr. Han's finger hovered, just inches from the alarm button, as she stared at the Draconian agent. The device in his hand emitted a soft blue glow that made her skin prickle. "I don't know what happened to your fleet," she said carefully. "I'm just a researcher." June's human disguise flickered again, revealing glimpses of scaled skin underneath. "Your vital signs indicate deception, Dr. Han. The Draconian Empire does not tolerate lies." "We thought it was equipment failure at first," Dr. Kang continued. "But then we realized the drone had briefly existed in two places at once, here and somewhere else." Moon's body tensed visibly. "You created a dimensional displacement field." "We didn't know that's what it was," Dr. Kang admitted. "We were just trying to create more efficient weather dispersal patterns." Dr. Han connected the dots. "When the Draconian fleet entered our atmosphere, they triggered the emergency protocols. The system activated automatically." "You didn't destroy them," Moon realized, his voice barely above a whisper. "You shifted them into another dimension." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. The Draconians weren't dead. They were trapped between dimensions. Hours later, in a secure video conference with world leaders, Dr. Han explained their findings. "Based on all available data, we believe the Draconian fleet still exists, but in a parallel dimensional space that overlaps with our own. They're essentially trapped in a bubble of altered reality." "Can they get out?" asked the French president. "We don't know," Dr. Han admitted. "The displacement field was never meant to be used this way. We're still learning how it works." "Do they know what happened to them?" asked another leader. Moon stepped into view of the camera. Based on the communication protocols we found in the spy's equipment, the Draconians are aware something unprecedented occurred. They are attempting to communicate with their homeworld. This news sent a ripple of concern through the conference. If the Draconians could communicate their situation, more ships would come. The next morning, as Dr. Han was reviewing simulation data, an emergency alarm blared throughout the facility. She rushed to the command center, where General Park stood staring at the main screen. "We're receiving a transmission," he said grimly. "From the Draconian High Council." The screen flickered to life, showing a creature similar to June, but larger, with elaborate scale patterns that Dr. Han assumed indicated high rank. "People of Earth," the Draconian began, its voice translated by a device similar to the one Mun used. "We know what you have done to our fleet. Return our ships and crews immediately, or we will deploy planet killers against your world." After the transmission ended, the room erupted in panicked discussion until Moon raised all four arms for silence. "The Draconian Empire does not bluff," he said solemnly. "They have destroyed worlds before. They will do it again." "How long do we have?" General Park asked. "Their nearest reinforcement fleet would take approximately 2 weeks to reach Earth," Moon calculated. "But that's not your only problem." He gestured for his assistant Day to explain. "I've just received a message from the Galactic Council," Day said. "They've reviewed Investigator Moon's reports about your dimensional displacement technology. The Council has declared Earth a threat to galactic stability." Dr. Han's blood ran cold. "What does that mean?" "It means," Moon said quietly, "that if you don't return the Draconian fleet, the Council will support their right to retaliate. And if you do return them, the Council may still take action against Earth for possessing technology they consider too dangerous." "That's not fair," Dr. Han protested. "We didn't even know what we had created." "Ignorance of consequences doesn't negate the threat you pose," Moon replied, though his tone suggested he might personally disagree with the Council's position. As the human leaders absorbed this impossible situation, Dr. Han returned to her lab with renewed determination. If Project Rainfall had accidentally created the dimensional displacement, perhaps it could be reversed. But should it be? She pulled up the latest atmospheric readings and gasped. The dimensional barrier was becoming unstable. Whether they wanted to or not, they might soon have no choice in the matter. "The displacement field is collapsing in certain areas," she reported to General Park and Mun an hour later. "We're detecting partial phase shifting near the original entry points." "What does that mean in simple terms?" General Park asked. "It means some Draconian ships may start partially reappearing," Dr. Han explained. "Not enough to free them, but enough to create dangerous spatial anomalies in our atmosphere." Mun studied the data with obvious concern. If the field collapses chaotically, the resulting dimensional reactions could tear holes in your atmosphere. The damage would be catastrophic. Dr. Han took a deep breath. "Then we need to control the collapse. We need to find a way to bring them back safely or stabilize the field permanently." As Dr. Han and her team raced to understand and control the technology they had accidentally created, the Draconian High Council prepared their planet killers, and the Galactic Council assembled a fleet of their own to contain what they now viewed as the most dangerous accidental weapon in the history of the galaxy. Earth had less than 2 weeks to solve a problem involving physics that humans had never even known existed before, or face extinction from multiple fronts. The Draconian Armada vanished on Earth, and the galaxy can't explain it. The underground facility hummed with activity as scientists from around the world worked frantically to solve the dimensional crisis. Dr. Han hadn't slept in 3 days, surviving on coffee and sheer determination. The clock was ticking. Their monitoring systems showed Draconian reinforcements already on their way, while the Galactic Council's containment fleet approached from another direction. "We've got something," Dr. Han announced to the crowded lab. She pulled up a holographic model showing swirling energy patterns. "The dimensional displacement isn't actually a prison or a weapon, it's a fold in space-time." Investigator Mun moved closer to study the model. "You're suggesting the fleet isn't in another dimension, but in a space between dimensions?" "Exactly," Dr. Han nodded. and we've been approaching this all wrong. We've been trying to bring them back completely, or leave them there completely. But what if we could establish controlled communication first? Her team quickly reconfigured their equipment, targeting the most stable section of the dimensional fold. After several failed attempts, a flickering image appeared on their screen. The AE bridge of a Draconian warship. Commander Tay's scaled face stared back at them, his expression unreadable to human eyes. "How long have we been trapped?" he demanded without preamble. 3 weeks in our time," Dr. Han replied carefully. The commander made a sound that might have been disbelief. "Impossible. We've been here for centuries." Dr. Han exchanged shocked glances with her team. Time flowed differently in the fold. What had been weeks for Earth had been subjectively much longer for the trapped Draconians. "We want to help you," Dr. Han said, "but we need guarantees that you won't attack Earth if we bring you back." "Commander." Tay's laugh was chilling. "You think you're in a position to negotiate? You have no idea what powers you're playing with." The communication abruptly ended as the equipment overheated. "Well, that was productive," General Park muttered. "Actually," Dr. Han said thoughtfully, "it told us something important. They're experiencing time dilation, and they're afraid." That evening, Dr. Han found Mun alone on the facility's roof, gazing at the stars. "Your council has declared us a threat," she said, joining him at the railing. "Do you agree with them?" Mun was quiet for a long moment. "The council fears what they don't understand, and humans—" He turned to look at her, his large eyes reflecting the moonlight. "Humans are perhaps the least predictable species we've ever encountered. Is that a bad thing?" "It is to a galactic civilization built on predictability and controlled scientific advancement," Mun replied. "But personally, I find it fascinating." Dr. Han took a deep breath. "I need to show you something we haven't shared with our own leaders yet." In her private lab, she revealed her newest discovery. The quantum displacement technology was just the beginning. While studying it, we found something much more fundamental, a new framework for understanding reality itself. She activated a small device that caused a pencil on her desk to hover, then passed through a solid metal box before settling back on the surface. "That's not possible," Mun whispered. "According to conventional physics, no," Dr. Han agreed. "But we've discovered that the rules aren't as rigid as everyone thought. The universe is more flexible." "The Council would never allow this knowledge to spread," Mun said, his voice barely audible. "I know," Dr. Han replied. "That's why I'm trusting you with it now. We're not asking to keep the Draconians trapped forever. We just need time to develop a controlled retrieval method and assurances that neither they nor the Council will destroy us for what we've accidentally discovered." Dadiao. Next day, Mun took an unprecedented step. Using his authority as a Galactic Council investigator, he called for an emergency session, linking Earth's leaders directly to the Council chambers across the galaxy. "Honored members of the Council," he began, his formal tone echoing through the connection. "I stand before you to advocate for the species known as humans." Murmurs spread through the alien assembly. "Investigator Mun," said the Council elder, a being so ancient that its form was barely visible, "your reports indicate these humans possess technology that threatens galactic stability." "With respect, Elder," Mun replied, "they do not possess it, they discovered it. And there is a critical difference." Over the next hour, Mun made a passionate case for humanity. He explained how Earth had stumbled upon dimensional physics while trying to improve their weather, how they had defeated the Draconian invasion by accident, not malice, and most importantly, how destroying Earth would mean losing access to scientific breakthroughs that could advance all civilizations. As Mun spoke, Dr. Han and her team were preparing for the most dangerous experiment in human history. In a heavily shielded chamber, they activated a modified version of the Project Rainfall system, not to retrieve the entire fleet, but to carefully extract just one ship. The air in the chamber shimmered and twisted. Alarms blared as energy readings spiked, off the charts. For a terrifying moment, Dr. Han thought they had failed catastrophically. Then, with a sound like thunder, a single Draconian ship materialized, Commander Tay's command vessel. When the sealed doors opened, the Draconians who emerged were changed. Their scales had faded to a pale grey, and their movements were slow, deliberate. Whatever they had experienced in the dimensional fold had profoundly affected them. 873 years, Commander Tay said when he finally spoke. That is how long we experienced in your trap. Dr. Han struggled to comprehend the time dilation. It was not intentional, she said softly, and we're trying to bring everyone back safely. The commander studied her with ancient eyes. We had centuries to study the dimensional fold from within. We know what you've discovered. The question is, do you truly understand what you've done? The testimony of Commander Tay and his crew changed everything. In an unprecedented joint session, the Draconian High Council and the Galactic Council listened as the commander described their experience, centuries spent in a realm where physics operated differently, where time and space flowed like water, and where they had eventually realized they weren't being punished, but had accidentally stumbled upon something revolutionary. The humans do not yet comprehend the principles they've discovered, Commander Tay concluded, but they will. And when they do, the galaxy will never be the same. Faced with this testimony and the demonstration of Earth's controlled retrieval of a single ship, the Draconian Empire reluctantly withdrew their planet killers. The Galactic Council, after much debate, voted to offer Earth provisional membership rather than risk conflict with a species that could, however accidentally, manipulate dimensional reality. 1 month later, Dr. Han stood beside Moon at the United Nations ceremony officially welcoming Earth into the galactic community. So we're not going to be destroyed for accidentally discovering dimensional physics? She asked quietly. On the contrary, Moon replied with what she now recognized as his version of a smile. You're being cautiously welcomed because of it. The Council would rather have humans as allies than adversaries, and the rest of the Draconian fleet. A joint scientific commission will oversee their gradual retrieval, Moon explained. It will take time, but Commander Tay's testimony has convinced even the High Council that revenge would be counterproductive. Dr. Han watched as world leaders signed the historic agreement. What about you? Are you returning to the Council? Moon shook his head. I've requested assignment as the permanent liaison to Earth. Your species fascinates me. You approach problems in ways no other civilization would consider. You create solutions by accident that others couldn't design with centuries of planning. That's just how humans are, Dr. Han shrugged. We make things up as we go along. And that, Moon said, is precisely why the galaxy both fears and needs you. Outside the UN building, crowds gathered to watch the ceremonial arrival of diplomatic ships from across the galaxy, the first official contact between humanity and the greater universe. News channels broadcast the historic moment to every corner of the planet. Few noticed the strange shimmer in the air high above the ceremony, the outline of hundreds of Draconian ships still suspended between dimensions, a somber reminder of the power humanity had stumbled upon and the responsibility that came with it. In her pocket, Dr. Han carried a small device containing the first draft of a new physics, one that would eventually rewrite the scientific understanding of the entire galaxy. Not bad, she thought, for a species that had been just days away from destruction. The remaining Draconian fleet hung in the dimensional fold like a monument, a testament to humanity's accidental discovery and the unforeseen consequences of reaching beyond what they understood. It would become known throughout the galaxy as the human paradox, a primitive species that achieved through accident what advanced civilizations couldn't achieve through design. And as Earth took its first tentative steps into galactic society, the universe held its breath, wondering what this unpredictable species would discover next.